Mm, 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 mm. Oh God. Do, 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 do.
The one thing I didn't think that you were going to be able to showcase is Trump having the intent. I left the first 20 minutes realizing I was very wrong about that, and then it was driven through my skull for the next 4 hours. I come away from this conversation thinking that he knew exactly what he was doing the entire time he was doing it.
Yeah, definitely the intent of Trump. I knew like peripheral events around it. I knew like the loose string of like how it went, but especially like I think the most powerful parts of it were.
I agree with Warren. I think the most damning part is the electoral scheme, the biggest like thing that most people don't know about. But since I knew about that, I would say the next big thing, and all of us got interested at this point. I think if you even go back and you watch the stream, is
But then the problem is like, okay, let's say you do somehow manage to condense it into like 2 hours. You publish it. It's like the best
for a video
edited,
you
most
could.
amazing.
This is
Okay,
too.
but
I
okay,
see
okay,
the vision
okay, but
in my head.
let me just go.
All right, well, we're going to blast through this, all right? On January 5th, Donald Trump tweets, pleased to announce that Kay Loeffler and basically Senator David Perdue have joined our great hashtag Stop the Steal group of senators. They will fight the ridiculous Electoral College certification of Biden. How do you certify numbers that have now been proven to be wrong and, in many cases, fraudulent? He also tweeted out, the vice president has the power to reject fraudulently chosen electors. This is not within, and then I added this comment, this is not within the powers of the vice president. And then he also tweeted out, quote, I hope the Democrats, and even more importantly, the weak and ineffective rhino section of the Republican Party are looking at the thousands of people pouring into D.C. They won't stand for a landslide election victory to be stolen. And then the next three tweets are on January 6th, but it's like the night of. They're like at midnight, 12:30 a.m., 1 a.m. or whatever. You can click and find the times. But he tweets out first, if Vice President Mike Pence comes through for us, we will win the presidency. Many states want to decertify the mistake they made in certifying incorrect and even fraudulent numbers in a process not approved by their state legislatures, which it must be. Mike can send it back. He tweets out, states want to correct their votes, which they now know were based on irregularities and fraud. Plus, corrupt process never received legislative approval. All Mike Pence has to do is send them back to the states, and we win. Do it, Mike. This is a time for extreme courage. And then one more tweet. In all caps, the Republican Party and, more importantly, our country needs the presidency more than ever before. The power of the veto. Stay strong. Okay.
What is that? What is he implying? The power of the veto?
Just like the president can veto, so
has?
you have to have the president, yeah. Okay.
Okay.
All right, day of January 6th, the speech at the Ellipse. Trump's team chose the Ellipse for the location of the rally on January 6th. It was about a mile's walk from there to the Capitol. It featured a variety of speakers, many of them continuing to make the same false assertions of voter fraud and rigged Dominion voting machines. Many of the speakers also reiterated the same pressure for lawmakers and Pence to overturn the electoral vote results. The event was set to begin at 9 a.m., with Trump finishing his speech at 12:16 p.m. According to the Secret Service Office of Inspector General report, about 28,000 people had entered the secured area of the rally, with many more staying outside. I think 20, 30, 40, 50,000 is hard to know, but around 28,000 went through the secured area. There's a lineup of like all the speakers who were...
The secured area means the building?
No. This is at the Ellipse outside. It's like where he gave the speech before they all went to the Capitol.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So the speaker lineup, Paula White came on. She led the group in prayer. Kylie Jane Kremer, she was the person in charge of the rally. She worked for Women for America First. I think she was when they got the permits. Mo Brooks came on and spoke. He's a U.S. representative for Alabama. He gave a speech to fire up the crowd to tell them to, quote, start taking down names and kicking ass, end quote, while making constant comparisons to 1776 and the fight to establish early America. He also challenged Republicans in Congress to stand up and challenge the election certification. It was later reported, in a later report, he said that he admitted to wearing body armor at his speech because he was tipped off by the FBI of potential risks beforehand. If you want, you can click that. Let's see, did that. The next speaker was Katrina Pearson. She's a former national campaign spokesperson and Trump media surrogate. In her speech, she also applied more pressure to Republican lawmakers to flip the vote in Congress during the certification, saying, quote, "We are going to fight for our president," end quote, and that every politician who turns their back on Trump will, quote, "lose their seats," end quote, in 2022. She also runs through a bunch of false voter fraud allegations. Amy Kremer comes on next. She's the women's something, I don't know, WFAF founder / chair, TeaPartyPatriots.org national coordinator, co-founder of Women for Trump. She goes on to speak about how foreign influence was stealing the election for the American public, including from Russia and Ukraine, and that Georgia was a corrupt state for refusing to investigate their voter fraud claims. She also alleged the exact same false Pennsylvania and Georgia and other voter fraud claims, again, to the crowd. She fires up the crowd, telling them that the election was stolen from Trump and that they are, quote, "here to save the republic," end quote. Vernon Jones is a state representative from Georgia. He comes up and he says he encouraged people to fight once more in the rally and to, quote, "take our country back," end quote. Texas Attorney General Paxton and Senator Paxton come up. They, telling their fighters. It was a short thing. I think they were up there for literally 60 seconds. Eric Trump and his wife come up. They come up, fire up the crowd. They reinforce that Trump called on them to, quote, "descend on D.C., end quote, and that Biden clearly lost the election. His wife also comes on to say, quote, "we are in this fight to the bitter end, and we are going to take our country back," end quote. Donald Trump Jr. also applies more pressure to Congress, saying that lawmakers, quote, "need to stand up," end quote, while they march to the Capitol.
Why is Twitch chat always
Some
so
Kimberly
fucking
Guilfoyle, she
retarded
comes
on
up. I think she
Zoom
speaks for a little bit. Wait, I think that was supposed to be Eric Trump before, but Trump Jr. comes up now. The Donald Trump son that we're more familiar with.